you write in the book, there is no faith and no courage and no sacrifice in doing what is expedient. What do you say to those viewers that don't pursue their dreams and are locked in their careers because they are too afraid to take risks and pursue something meaningful?
Well, the first thing I would say is, well, you should be afraid of taking risks and pursuing something meaningful. But you should be more afraid of staying where you are if it's making you miserable. It's like the first thing you want to do is dispense with the idea that you get to have any permanent security outside of your ability to contend and adapt. It's the same issue with children. It's like you're paying a price by sitting there being miserable. You might say, well, the devil I know is better than the one I don't. It's like, don't be so sure of that. The clock is ticking.
Yeah,
and if you're miserable in your job now and you change nothing, in 5 years you'll be much more miserable and you'll be a lot older.
But isn't it a luxury to pursue what is meaningful? Our viewers have mortgages, they have children, they have payments and loans. It's a luxury to pursue because we lack the resources.
Well, I don't remember now, I'm not talking about what makes you happy. It's a luxury to pursue what makes you happy. It's a moral obligation to pursue what you find meaningful. And that doesn't mean it's easy. It might require sacrifice. If you need to change your job too, let's say you have a family and children and a mortgage, you have responsibilities. You've already picked up those responsibilities. You don't just get to walk away scot-free and say, well, I don't like my job, I quit. That's no strategy. But what you might have to do is you think, well, this job is killing my soul. All right, so what do I have to do about that? Well, I have to look for another job. Well, no one wants to hire me. It's like, okay, maybe you need to educate yourself more. Maybe you need to update your curriculum vitae, your resume. Maybe you need to overcome your fear of being interviewed. Maybe you need to sharpen your social skills. Like, you have to think about these things strategically. If you're going to switch careers, you have to do it like an intelligent, responsible person. That might take you a couple of years of effort to do properly.
When you say pursue something meaningful, is it important to have a vocation?
I think it's more important to have an ethos, an ethic. So I have a program, for example, called the Future Authoring Program, which is a writing program that enables people to develop a vision for their life and then to develop a strategy. And so it's based on the idea, imagine that, and it's an extension of the ideas in the book, or at least something along the same lines. The first thing that you want to do is figure out, imagine you were taking care of yourself, like you were someone you cared for, which is rule number 2, by the way, essentially. Then you should figure out, well, if you could have what you needed and wanted, what would it be? What sort of friends would you have? What would your family relationships look like? How would you conduct yourself with your children? How would you educate yourself? You need to think through how it is that your life could be properly arranged if you had that ability. And then you can aim at that. And the funny thing is that if you do posit a goal of that sort and work towards it, you will move towards it. The goal will change because you'll learn things along the way. But I mean, I've dealt with hundreds of people in my clinical and consulting practice, and we set a goal, we develop a vision and work towards it, and things inevitably get better for people. So it's not a luxury, it's difficult. It's a moral responsibility, and it isn't happiness. It's not, the pursuit isn't for happiness. The meaning is what you have to buttress yourself against the tragedy of life. It's like engagement. We're having an engaging conversation. You know, we'll walk away from this, and hopefully the people who are watching, they'll walk away and they'll think that was worthwhile. It's like, okay, think about what that means. Mm-hmm. It means that despite the fact that you're a fragile, damaged, mortal creature, you found something to do that announced itself as worthwhile. Mm-hmm. That's meaning. It's an instinct. Like, it's a deep, deep instinct. It's maybe the deepest instinct. It's like a form of vision, except it's not like an embodied sense. It's not a specified sense. Meaning tells you when you're in the right place. And the right place is between chaos and order. And those are real places. Your hemispheres, like your right hemisphere is roughly evolved, let's say, to deal with things you don't understand. That's chaos. And your left is there to deal with things you do understand. And you can't just stay with the things you do understand because you already understand them. And you can't just stay with what you don't understand because then you're lost. Yeah. Well, you need to be in the middle of those two. And you can tell when you're in the middle because everything lines up and you feel engaged and that what you're doing is meaningful. It's like, that's what you pursue. Expedience is you do the thing that gets you off the hook the fastest right now. Well, you play that game across time, it doesn't work. It sends you down because you're sacrificing the future for the present. Meaning doesn't do that. Meaning says, I'm here where I should be. And you can't tell why, it's just that everything is right. And you get this physiological sense. Right place, right time, right conversation, you know? And that's usually a conversation where you're both trying to expand the way that you look at the world. Well, so you follow this meaningful path. That's your buttress against the tragedy that produces resentment and malevolence. His meaning is the antidote to that. And that's the fundamental religious truth. And it's really true. That's the thing that's so... Life is suffering. That's true. There's malevolence. That's true. Meaning is the antidote to that. Yes. And it's not some kind of fragile epiphenomena. It's the deepest thing. So people need to know that. It's so important to know that. People say, well, meaning isn't real. It's like, no, that's wrong. It's actually the most real thing. It might even be more real than suffering and evil. It's possible. And like I think about this technically, you know, this isn't a metaphysical assumption that I'm making. And you do feel it. You feel it in your body. It's not just a mental thing. It's not an idea. It's a place. It's a place. Because we're in time and space, right? And a place is a place, you know, 3 dimensions of space, but it's also a time. And when the place and the time are set up properly, you're in the right place. And your brain is telling you that. Your being is telling you that. Yeah, you got it right. Right? You know, it's going to fall apart because you're not going to be there all the time.
Right. You forget that pretty quick often, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just part of life.
Yeah, well, you say, you know, you go see a great movie. It's like, hey, you're in the right place at the right time. And you're engaged. You're completely engaged in it. It's because there's no other way to put it. You're in the right place at the right time. And the meaning is the signal of that. And so the purpose of profound religious contemplation, in some sense, in the deepest sense, profound philosophical contemplation, is to learn how to be in the right place at the right time all the time. Now, you can't, because you're not perfect, but you can be there a lot more than you are, and you can actually practice it. You practice it by paying attention. You watch yourself during the day like you don't know who you are, eh? Or what you're doing. And you notice, oh yeah, right there, I was listening to that piece of music, or I was having that conversation, or I was doing this piece of work. Then I was there for like 10 minutes. Okay, why? I was doing something right. I don't know what it is. I wasn't doing something wrong. You know, and so I got this little illuminated moment. It's like, okay, I need to figure out how to be there more often. So there's this line from the Gospel of Thomas, which was discovered in like 1957. And it says, the kingdom of God is spread out before the eyes of men, but men do not see it. That's basically it. And that's kind of what it's referring to. It's like there are times when you're in the right place at the right time, and then you're where you should be. And you don't notice that. You don't say, oh, look, wow, there's something about this is right. I got to figure out how to do this more.
Right, because that sucks you out of it immediately, even if you could do that, right?
Right, well, that's also partly why it's hard. And you're not really trained to notice that. Because it isn't something we ever talk about. It's like, you're in the right place at the right time. Okay, why? What did I do right? What did I do? I need to do more of that. So maybe it's only half an hour a week when you first start noticing. And then maybe with 3 months of practice, you can get it up to like an hour a day. And then maybe you can get it up to 4 hours a day. And God only knows where you could get it if you keep practicing, you know. You can be there. We don't know what the upper limit of that is.
This is when players talk about being in the zone, when
you're
just throwing it up and you're not even thinking and it's going in and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And often when they talk about it after, that, you know, they won't even realize that, wow, that was a 7-minute stretch. They think of it as a 30-second little thing.
That's right, time goes away. Yes. Well, that's the Tao that the Taoists talk about. That's the zone. That's the line between chaos and order. And to be there is to be in the right place. That's why people watch sports. Like, part of it's the competition and the victory. And that's all fine. But the serious thing is those moments when you're in the zone with the players, because they're acting out being in the zone, and everyone loves that. In the Quidditch game in Harry Potter, there's 2 games going on at the same time. There's the ordinary game, which is just a game, and there's the seeker game. And the seeker is going after this golden thing that flickers in front of them. And if they get that thing, then they win, and the team wins. Well, she got it exactly right. That little thing, the snitch that everyone is chasing, is actually an ancient alchemical symbol for the union of chaos and order. Huh. I don't know how in the world she figured that out. It's called the round chaos. It's unbelievably obscure. If you look it up on Google, I think the only reference to the round chaos is from my website. I learned it from reading Jung. I don't know how she figured it out.
Wow.
But so the seeker is seeking this thing that glimmers in front of him, right? It moves everywhere, right? That's Mercury, the winged messenger of the gods, right? And so you're chasing that, and now and then you get it, and everyone wins. So yeah, that's meaning.